I don't like to hear the word no, and that drives me.
What do you think are some of the hangups that people have when you're like, you need to get on YouTube, you need to create video content?
I think confidence, confidence is a key player in business. In anything you do, you have to have confidence. And that's a skill that most people lack. Not everybody's gonna love you. If everybody loves you, there's something wrong. You are not being authentic. You're not doing something right.
We call those OPOs, other people's opinions. And there is only one place for other people's opinions, and that is the trash bin.
Not worrying about as much of what you look like, what you sound like. Like, I'm not really the biggest fan of what my voice sounds like personally, but it works for me and people listen to me. So, hey, no matter what it is, the hardest shit, okay, that you might deal with, you have to put it in perspective and think it could probably be worse.
In today's episode of Not Nice Clever, we have the pleasure of having Tiffany Pantozzi on. When I saw her speak on stage at Inman in Las Vegas, I knew we had to have her on our podcast because she is a visionary marketing expert. She's a fierce negotiator, an informed influencer, and a gutsy client advocate. She leads the team at Align Real Estate, and she's recognized as the top 1% of Central Florida agents. She's going to break down for us her path from fashion and being an NFL cheerleader to becoming a boss and leading the Align team with agents all over Florida. She's also been featured in Forbes, The Wall Street Journal, People Magazine, the LA Times, and I can go on and on. She's listed as one of Yahoo Finance's top 5 female realtors to follow. So if you aren't already, go follow Tiffany Pantozzi. You're going to love her after you listen to this episode where we break down her unique and unapologetic approach to how to build confidence on camera, not giving a crap about other people's opinions, and building and scaling business in a way that allows her to get her time back. So let's dive in with Tiffany now. Okay, Tiffany, we are so excited to have you on our podcast today. We are going to dive right in. Can you tell us what's one thing that you just can't shut up about right now? Something that's always top of mind for you?
Well, for me, my brain works and is always focused on marketing, right? Marketing for me is at the core of everything I do on a daily basis for my business, to grow my business. And the number one thing that I am focusing on right now and preaching to all of my agents, all my friends who are agents, anybody in the industry, really anybody who owns a business, you need to be making video content and you need to be successfully posting that and optimizing that on YouTube. So I'm screaming it to the rooftops to everybody, and we're putting a lot of time and effort in ours as well because there are so many opportunities that can come from good video content on YouTube.
And what do you think are some of the hangups that people have when you're like, you need to get on YouTube, you need to create video content? What do you think is keeping them from taking action, even though you've seen a lot of success with it?
I think confidence. Confidence is a key player in business. In anything you do, you have to have confidence. And that's a skill that most people lack, unfortunately, especially in the real estate industry. So having the confidence to be able to get in front of the camera is step one, yeah. Right? Not worrying about as much of what you look like, what you sound like. Like, I'm not really the biggest fan of what my voice sounds like personally, but it works for me and people listen to me. So, hey, but I mean, I think it's the confidence thing is the first thing that will hold people back from getting in front of the camera. I think that people are scared and they think that it's going to cost them a lot of money. Well, sure, there's different ways that you can invest in it to hire professionals. But when I first got started, I got started with a handheld gimbal and some free editing apps. Yep. And that worked for me, right?
Yes.
I never advise anybody to be the editor because you should be investing in your business for professionals to do that for you because that's not where your time is best spent. But there are many ways for people to get involved and started in video creation with very minimal costs, right? So it's the cost factor for sure. And I think that people get stuck with like what to talk about, what to make a video on when, I mean, there is so much. So there's probably a lot of reasons that hold people back, but they don't realize how simple it could be if they just get started.
And so, Tiffany, I love that you hammered home on something that Candace and I hear all the time: confidence and cost, right? Those are probably really, really top of mind for people getting started. What would you say would be the early, easy, or messy steps that you took to start to build your confidence? Like, obviously, people interacting with you now see you years into your journey, but the gimbal days, what did you find worked well for you in taking that messy action?
I think that, first of all, you can't take yourself too seriously, okay? And you have to know that you are not for everybody, and that is okay. We are all out here looking to find our tribe, right? So not everybody's going to love you. And I can promise you, I mean, I say this a lot. So if anybody listens to the crap that comes out of my mouth half the time, they have heard this before. But if everybody loves you, there's something wrong. You are not being authentic. You're not doing something right, okay? Because it's not realistic, right? Like, who are you? And just being confident enough and willing to take risks to put yourself out there authentically, that's really the goal and the trickiest part, where people have to just get over themselves, like, you know, and not be so critical, and it's okay for people not to like you.
Yeah, it's okay. I definitely do. I told Kat, like, there was someone that we encountered, and she talks a lot about the same things that we talk about: branding, marketing, all that stuff. I was like, she's just not my flavor. Like,
Okay.
everything that she says, I'm like, yep, like, I agree, but, like, she's just not my flavor. That's all. You know, there's nothing wrong with her, but she's just not for me. And it doesn't matter, because I'm not for people either, you know? And so I think owning that really helps you to be excited about showing up, because the people you actually get to spend time with are people who actually enjoy you and actually like your energy and your vibe.
You have to be careful. Life is short, and you can't worry so much about what others think, right? Because everybody will have an opinion. So it's not an easy, unless it might be easier to say than, you know, when people really feel they're very, you know, worried about what somebody is going to think of them. That's one thing about me. I've always been quite unfiltered. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good.
We love
right?
it.
But I think that it's really about just being okay with that and just living your life. I tell people all the time, I'm like, put on some blinders, like a racehorse, okay? Put on the blinders. Stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. Like, worry about yourself, and you are going to go so much further, you know? It's really an unhealthy rabbit hole we can get into by just picking up our phone and scrolling in Instagram. It's dangerous, okay? It's a real thing. Everybody's like, you got to do this, you got to do that, and don't forget about, I mean, it's like you feel like you're always running on a hamster wheel, like, oh my God, I'm not doing enough. Oh my God, look what this person's doing. But, like, even me, I have to stop myself and be like, no. This is what Tiffany's goals are. These are what my priorities are. Let me focus on me, and that will be so much healthier for all of us, right? But it's easier to say sometimes than to do.
Yeah. We, on Not Nice Clever, we call those OPOs, other people's opinions. And there is only one place for other people's opinions, and that is the trash bin. They do not belong in your mind. They do not belong taking up real estate on your thoughts, on your day, on your routines. So I love that you called it out. And Candace, I think when we had Ryan on the podcast, he also said that same thing, putting blinders on.
I love the visualization of it for us. That's it. Because it's true, you can get on Instagram and be like, oh, there's 20 other things I'm supposed to be doing for my business that I am not. And all of those things are taking your energy and focus away from the things that you've already determined will lead you to your goals, the thing that you actually want.
Yeah, I'll tell you, like, you know, whenever I have to look at my list of 100 things that I have scribbled down we have to do, right? You have to look at your list and say, okay, truthfully, of all, marketing is important. We have to keep that moving for us to give ourselves exposure, you know, to build more relationships, get business attracted to us, opportunities, all that. But at the same time, what are the next 3 items on my list that are going to get me closest to my next payday, right? My next paycheck. That's going to get me to earn, because there's a lot of times that we get caught up in things that are like project based and, you know, content based, but it's like, okay, what is this initiative for, and how quickly can this initiative make me money, right? And kind of prioritizing those things so that you don't get so bogged down on this, you know, long path of building all this content without focusing on the things that are going to get you paid.
Exactly. There's two things that you always need to be focusing on, right? Like, how are you going to make that money right now? And how are you setting up yourself long term to make the most money in the future? And both of those, yeah, and both of those things happen simultaneously. And so many times, people are either focusing on one or the other. And the real sweet spot is focusing on both simultaneously.
So, Tiffany, you mentioned confidence, you mentioned cost. Another thing that we see a lot of our audience, a lot of the team leads, the CEOs, whether or not they're early on or later on in the journey, struggle with is that ever present bug of comparisonitis. And so, one of the questions that we love to ask the incredible folks that we have on Not Nice Clever is when determining what success looks like for you and understanding how you define it, how do you, Tiffany, today look forward and are rating yourself on success? Like, what does that look like for you right now?
It's interesting because it does change over the years. We evolve, we grow, our goals change, our motivations change, what's important to us changes, all that, right? And it's interesting because there's a lot of people that are leaders in our industry and leaders in a space of, let's call it, social media marketing. And there are these, amazing creators, and they have all this advice. And I listen to some of them, a lot of them, and sometimes it doesn't resonate with me. I'm like, it's okay, that what you're suggesting might work with somebody else, but it's not working for me, right? And that's okay to find your own secret sauce, your own recipe. And you don't, just because that person is a top producer or best coach in the business doesn't mean they're right for you and that their path is going to be your path, right? And it's important for people to realize that. And what I've learned over all the hard work I've put in my business over the years, the most important thing to me and the way that I now measure success is time, is how much time I have in my life to live my life, right? And that doesn't always include doing work. I work to be able to enjoy my life and do beautiful things with the people I love, friends and family, right? So for me, it's being able to have more time in your life and do more of those things that you enjoy that are extracurricular, not considered work. That's how I'm measuring success these days, and how much time I'm getting back in my life versus grinding every day in my business.
Yes.
Because if I could get my time
that.
back and still have my business operate and still make my money, then I'm succeeding in my opinion, okay? Because girlfriend, let me tell you, I want to be in Italy in a villa 2 months a year chilling, still getting a paycheck, okay, still, and then come back and my business hasn't skipped a beat. That's success.
All of us.
Yeah,
We'll visit you.
absolutely.
I think Candace
Yeah.
is like a year away from wanting to get a villa on the coast of Capri.
Dom and I just decided, yes, please. Dom and I just decided a few months ago that we're working 10 months a year now. So that's our new calendar. Yeah.
Yes. I'm telling you, like, this concept in America of like how we all are work animals, of how we go about work, right? And we just give our whole heart and life and soul to our businesses, which I understand. Listen, we all have goals, but at the same time, you have to live your life, and maybe more of that European lifestyle, right? You have to stop and breathe and be in the moment and not miss your life, right? Like, we're young and we need to live that. I mean, I'm approaching my 40s and I've had a great life. I've had some amazing things in my life. I have a baby girl who's about to turn 1. I want to have another child, like so many things, but like you got to stop and enjoy the fruits of our labor that we've had, to this point. So I love that initiative where you're going to say, no, I'm only working this many months, but if we don't build our foundation of our business, it won't work for us when we're away, right? So there's things you have to put into place to be able to live that kind of lifestyle. And being realistic with yourself, okay? Like, if you have certain goals and certain lifestyle that's going to cost you whatever it might cost you, you might have to work a little harder, a little longer to get to the goal to where then you could reap the benefits of that. So scaling back on your expectations for yourself personally as well, like, it's expensive to go rent a villa for 2 months in Italy. And, like, what is that? Is that realistic for you? And putting those things together for yourself so that you know that you're also trying to reach realistic expectations and goals in your life, and if you are not, it's going to be that much more stressful for you as well.
And there's small things that you can do. Like the first thing that we did, well, we were gone for 3 weeks for our honeymoon in Italy, and that lifestyle did impact us, right? Because you couldn't go and do anything between noon and 3 o'clock, right? Everything is closed, or, everything's closed at that time. Like all the small businesses are closed. Like you can't do anything. It's like forcing you to take a nap, which was lovely. And so we came back with a just new found, I don't know, excitement about realizing there's other ways to do it. And so it really made us think. And 3 weeks was also a good time away from my business to see, can my business still operate without me, or with very minimal? Because I think maybe I worked 1 hour a week each week that I was in Italy, and worked, I mean, I like touched in with my teammates and been like, are things still good? And that just made me realize, okay, this could have gone better, this could have gone better. And I knew what needed to happen when I came back to work to then leave again for a month and see how that goes, right? And so just like baby stepping to my goals and not being afraid of that.
And sometimes you have to push yourself and sometimes you have to push yourself and put yourself in an uncomfortable
Yes.
situations like that, to where you just
Yes.
test your limits to say, can this work? And if not, crap, these are the things I have to go back and fix so I
Yes.
can
And
get
if you
to
don't
this.
experiment, you'll never know. So that was really important. So you talked a little bit earlier about like key ingredients, your secret sauce, and we love that language because we talk about that all the time on Not Nice Clever, because everyone has their own little recipe. So what would you say, Tiffany Pantozzi, what are your key ingredients to success? What's your secret sauce?
Well, I think that I am highly motivated person. Okay, I am extremely persistent person. I don't really like the word no, and it's not really something in my vocabulary. And if you do tell me no, I might ask you like 100 questions in 10 in so many different ways to make sure that it's really a no. So I'm extremely persistent. I mean, I'm extremely dedicated to something once I set a goal. And I'm willing to put in the hard work, right? Because I feel that unfortunately, our society has shifted a little bit more to people thinking things are just, they expect things to be given to them, or, they expect things to happen so quickly, when it's taken me years to build this business and build my reputation and what I have today, right? I think we live in such a instant gratification society, especially with our social media world, where it's like everything is so quick. Who can create the coolest, fastest TikTok and tell you like 10 of the newest tricks of life? I don't know. It's just like so insane how quick everything is today. You know what I mean? And so we're in this crazy cycle, and I just think that it takes time, right, to build something that's worth it and something that is meaningful. And I think that people need to realize that it's very rare that people have quick overnight successes in anything that they do. I mean, it's super duper rare, so you got to put in the hard work. You got to stay dedicated and committed. You have to stay consistent. And just be, confident in yourself to know that you will achieve that goal if you stay course, that it is totally possible. So I think that I'm just a super determined person and a driven person. I'm willing to take risks. I have confidence in myself, and I don't like to hear the word no, and that drives me.
Along those lines, Tiffany, I learned something new about you when you were at Inman and you were on a panel and you were talking about your background, what you did before you got into real estate. I would love for you to talk a little bit about your business before real estate and how you got into that, and how that hard work and determination led
Like fed
you
into it.
fed into this place you are now. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. Okay. I was never, my personality, I'm not the ideal employee. I can promise you that. Because again, I'm not, I'm just always I'm gonna like ask a lot of questions, trying to find my way to do something. I'm best being self-employed and in charge of myself. So, so I used to cheer for the NFL. I was a Miami Dolphins cheerleader, originally from Miami, Florida. loved sports, also went to school to get my bachelor's degree in fashion, merchandising, okay, and business. So was in college, decided to start making really cute outfits for the cheerleaders, for events that we were doing, and realized this was back in 2009 when there really wasn't a big market for women's apparel in sports. Promise you, there was like nothing to buy that was cute for us in sports. And I was making these really cool outfits. One thing led to the other, where I built a company called Miss Fanatic, and it grew to where I had licenses for every major NCAA team across the country. You name it, I was in their team sports shop, their on-campus bookstore, selling at fanatics.com, selling in Kohl's. I mean, I sold millions and millions of dollars of merchandise. I also had all the NBA licenses, and I did some private label for NFL. So I sold sports license apparel for women, really cool stuff. And then I also launched a children's line and a men's swim trunks line. And then I also had a nail polish line, like all these things. So I had to create I was like product development. I was sourcing. I was factory management. I was sales. I was marketing. I was all the things. And there was no 9 to 5. I don't have that mentality, and you can't in our industry either if you're a realtor. There's no 9 to 5. It's when open your eyes to when you close your eyes, okay? So you have to have that, like hardworking, ready to do and take over the world and do whatever it takes mentality to build a company. So I was very successful at that, and it was a really unique industry where you had to have a license to sell the merchandise, okay? And the industry was changing because you have to pay royalties. Royalties could be 18, 20+% just for the school. Then your retailers want discounts, and you're trying to manufacture in the United States. You have to go overseas. There's a lot of things of moving parts. I had an opportunity for somebody to buy my company because I had assets. The assets were the licenses. The schools only gave out so many licenses per category. So let's call it, I sold leggings, right, with like the team name on the side of the leggings, and dresses and swimwear. They weren't going to give out 100 of those. They maybe gave out 1 or 2 of those, and I had those assets. So I had value that another bigger company needed and wanted, and they couldn't get. So they came to me and they wanted to purchase my company so they could obtain the assets, right? So I had an opportunity. The industry was changing, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this opportunity now and figure out what's next. So I sold that company, and I was really in a crossroads where I didn't know that I felt successful because I sold the company, but it was, I still was like, wait, but what's next? That was like, I didn't have a vision past this, and I had to completely reinvent myself. And my husband is in the real estate space. He owns a title company, and a lot of my mom and brother have their license from South Florida, but they're more like casual part-time realtors. And they all encouraged me to get into real estate, and I came in kicking and screaming because I was really never ever saw myself as a realtor. I had never met any impressive people in this industry. Obviously that has changed now. So I was actually like, oh my God, did I fail? I'm going to be a realtor. So it was actually bad, right? Like in my head, it was bad. But I just decided I was going to do it differently, and I was going to take it very seriously and elevate the industry as a whole. And I could promise you, when I started doing real estate, there was very few agents that were doing real estate on social media and Instagram in the way that I was doing it, especially here in Florida. And doing video the way I was doing it. So, I've really taken my business very seriously and really evolved my business over time. And I love real estate. Now I'm like, shit, I should have got into real estate so much sooner. What the hell was I doing? Like when I was living in Miami, cheering for the Miami Dolphins, I should have been a realtor. What was I doing?
But also, I think that what makes you great at being a realtor is those experiences that you had prior to being an agent, because you're bringing in a whole different perspective from different industries and different experiences that feel fresh in the real estate space, right? When you started. So I think that your path led you to this place where you're able to have the business that you do have now. So I love that. All that to say, you're a boss, and we appreciate having you on. Love you sharing your story.
I absolutely love that. And Tiffany, I remember when Candace had first shared that you were going to be on our podcast. I was super excited. I crawled your website, your socials, everything. And the first thing that I remember thinking, I was like, okay, she's in Orlando. Florida Power. Like I literally just moved from Miami about a year ago. I lived there for 6 years. My partner's from South Florida, born and raised. So I was like, okay, there's alignment there. There's synergy there. And then your company, your brokerage is also called Align Agents. I was like, alignment, align, that word, even just having that word, I was like, oh, we got to have this girl on this podcast, like this woman, this powerhouse, this CEO. So can you talk to us a little bit about how Align kind of came to be, that inspiration, now that we kind of know the earlier start to your career too?
Yes, I did want to share this with you because, it's interesting that where I am today, I couldn't have envisioned this. This wasn't like my long-term goal, and I never really saw myself like, oh, my goal in this industry is to own my own brokerage, and that wasn't actually a sight that I saw for myself, which is interesting. Some of the goals that I did have for myself getting into this industry was like, oh, I want to be seen as a leader in the industry. I want to be recognized of somebody that can speak on the behalf of a realtor at a higher level, right, and be well respected across the industry for some of the unique ways that I'm able to build. I've been able to build my business through some of my marketing techniques, things like that, right? And I feel that recently I have been able to accomplish one of those goals because I recently was asked to speak at Inman, which is such a well-respected platform in our industry. That was like a big check for me that years ago when I first got started, I remember seeing somebody else on that stage and I said, I want to be there one day. And it was so cool how it really organically flowed into that, I was asked to speak, and I mean, it was a major moment for me in my career, and knowing that all the hard work and foundation I've laid, I was able to achieve that, And what's interesting is like I said, some people would think, oh, you probably always visioned having your own real estate company and all these agents and this and that. It's not what I had thought. It happened organically because I was introduced to a company called Side, and I'm a Side partner. And through Side, this incredible company, Align Real Estate, has been built, where I have agents that work for my company across the state of Florida, and I'm able to build equity in my business. I'm able to run my business how I want, and march to the beat of Tiffany's drum, yet be supported by a tremendous, incredible company with technology. And I have a broker. I'm not the broker of record. I don't want that responsibility. All the things that are maybe not the things that are as much fun to run a business, but are required compliance, and all those sort of things. They handle that for me, and I could focus on the things that I love, that I'm passionate about, that I'm really talented with, and help to mentor other agents. So it's so cool how my career in real estate has evolved, and now I own this brokerage with agents across the state of Florida. But that wasn't the ultimate goal, but it's really cool to see where I am today and know what opportunities I still have to grow it based on the foundation I've built.
I love that. So I have kind of a curveball question for you, because I know we've talked about your beginning stages in your journey, what you have done today. It's amazing that what you once dreamed about, speaking on a stage potentially at Inman, now became a reality this year. But we like to ask this question of all of our guests. And we had asked it of Ryan. You've probably heard about it, was his yogurt moment. When he first got to New York, he wasn't able to pay for groceries. He couldn't even pay for yogurt. My moment was in 2018. I call it my leather jacket moment. Candace has her moment. So for you, can you share with us like a moment in your journey where it was tough, it was hard, you maybe were like, oh my God, what now? How can I get through? Like, what kept you going? What were you thinking? What was that moment? Because we know every incredible leader has a moment like that, and we would just love to hear and see from yours specifically too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's interesting because there's a lot of moments that make up who you are and your armor, your body armor of life, right? There's a lot of moments along the way, good people, not so good people that come across your path, and having the strength to overcome some of these moments. There's that, the quote where it's, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it, right? Which is so true, and we have to remember that, because no matter what it is, the hardest shit, okay, that you might deal with, you have to put it in perspective and think it could probably be worse, right? It can probably be worse. Do I have a home that I go to every night with a roof over my head? Do I have food that I can eat every single day? Because there's people that those are real problems for them. So what is it that we're pissed about today? What are we whining about today? Like, we can see, we can hear, we can walk with 2 legs and hug somebody with 2 arms. Like, what are we really so frazzled about today, right? So we have to put things in perspective, because I think that for me, there may not be this one moment. There's a lot of moments that have been challenging in life, right? Professionally, that I have had to overcome, whether it's, a bad partnership that went sour, or an upset client that you lost, that you totally effed up that, and who knows what it might have been, that you felt like your world is crumbling and you're never going to make it, and that's just it for you, right? But like, okay, take all that away. Take that away. Take your business away. Are you breathing? Like some of the basic fundamentals of life that we, I guess, forget and stop to be so grateful for, because we're just so expected, right?
We take them for granted.
You take them for granted. So when you stop to think like, okay, could this be worse? Yes. Let's think about how this can be worse. And like, it's not the end of the world. We will survive. And let's take a deep breath. Let's get past this. The light will always shine through, right? So I just think that when you think about it in that perspective, no matter what you get through, you'll be able to overcome it, because listen, unless you really are at that bottom, and then there's always, you have to hit rock bottom sometimes, right? To go and kind of climb your way back up. But I don't know. I just think that we are all very fortunate to live in the country that we live in, to have the freedoms afforded to us that we have, and have, food and shelter and all of these things. So I think that it's important to put life in perspective.
Amen.
And gratitude, right? Because anytime, like, it's just like, okay, let me just take a minute for gratitude. Like, there's so many things I'm grateful for. So many things to be grateful for. Even in your worst day, there's things to be grateful for.
Yep. Can you share one thing that you used to dream about that's now your reality?
So I think that I've definitely always dreamed about just being successful in my business, right? And having a good flow of opportunity that has come, was always coming to me, and not be so scared about what that next month might look like, and I'm very grateful that I've built something that is in motion, and there's a lot of opportunity coming to me, in all different directions. So, we all talk about manifesting, and it's like it is a real thing. Like, I put these things out into the universe, and the more you do that and the more you manifest it, it is a real thing. And you have to be careful, because when you're naysaying and kicking yourself in the butt and thinking bad things, that's a real thing too that can affect you, But I mean, I always also envision myself being a mother, and that's a real thing for me right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, I had to go through IVF to become a mom. It was a long journey for me, and my daughter's about to turn 1. So that's like, holy shit. I say those things.
We swear a lot on this podcast, Tiffany. You're all good.
Okay.
You can
so I was like,
absolutely say
it's
whatever
like,
you
wow,
want.
I really always dreamed of having like my little human, right? And I have my little human now, and it's so fun and so cool and so hard all at the same time, right? But that was like a thing that I was like, you never realized what it would be like until you actually had it. And now I'm doing, and I'm like, okay, now I'm a mom, but I'm also my business owner. I'm also a wife. I'm also a daughter and a friend and a sister and all the things of life, right? So figuring out how to manage that and how to enjoy it all at once, it's a challenge. But I'm grateful that I have what I have today.
I love it. So we have a rapid fire question session. And Kat is going to ask you a series of questions, and it's just like gut instinct, go, just whatever comes top of mind, and they're just quick.
Okay. You ready, Tiffany?
Okay.
Okay. What was one of your childhood nicknames?
Well, Tiff. I had a college nickname, and my sorority name is Rivers. So I was Rivers after Joan Rivers. So because I was always so fashionable in college.
There we go. We'll go with Rivers. I love it. So What is your
Okay.
go-to lazy dinner when you've just had a day?
Girlfriend, give me a pizza. Give me a pizza. I am always wanting some pizza.
You're after my own heart there. Okay. Keeping in mind that you're in Florida, okay, Miami, Orlando, hot or iced coffee?
Iced.
Iced. Love it. So this one, what is the best non-curse word, one word insult that you use on a daily basis? I'll use an example. I love calling people or just like calling out a situation as like moron, like moronic. Oh my gosh, I can't deal with it. What's your like best one word non-curse word insult?
Probably like, oh, you're such a douche.
A douche.
There we go.
Yep.
You know what I used to say all the time? I actually used to say, and it's actually like an insult, but not as much of an like it depends on who's hearing it. But I used to be like, "Oh, you're so generic. Like you're so generic."
Ooh,
That's a good one.
I
I like it.
that.
That's
a
harsh,
good
right?
one.
Yeah.
It's harsh,
That is. It's
but
like,
like it's not a curse word,
Yeah.
right? But it's like if somebody calls you generic, like that's rude. I wouldn't ever want to be called generic. So I used to say that all the time, like, "Oh,
so
you're so
good.
generic."
I love
Okay.
that one.
I love that. Tiffany, I might have to borrow that and I
Yeah.
will give you credit. Okay. Next
Okay.
question. What makes you nervous?
Oh my gosh, what makes me nervous? Well, I mean, I am scared of spiders, so that makes me nervous. But I think that, I get nervous. Like,
Me too.
I don't like to disappoint people. I really don't. Like, I don't like to, like, I think what makes me the most
Yeah.
nervous, truthfully, is not knowing what the hell's going to come out of my mouth every single day when I tell people things. Like, I swear, I make myself nervous. Like, even in, like, important conversations, I'm like, okay, don't say something freaking stupid or crazy, So that does make me nervous, not knowing what I might say that get myself in trouble.
Love that answer. Okay. Next one. Who's your celebrity crush?
Okay. Well, this changed over time because things
Naturally.
changed for him over time. I used to be a Depp girl, Johnny Depp all day. Things changed over time, whatever. So
Yep.
I will forever love Charlie. I don't even know his last name. The blonde guy that was from that show with the motorcycles.
Charlie Hunnam. Sons of
Oh,
Anarchy?
Delicious. Yes.
Tiffany.
And my husband knows. Like, he's my one. So, Charlie,
Oh.
call me, baby.
That's the list. There we go. We're going to send this to
He's so
Charlie's
hot.
publicist as soon as
But
it
you know
is
what
live.
else is crazy? I also really love Gerard Butler, and I have to say that I did go to one of his houses once because it was for sale with other friends of mine that were in the industry in LA, and I got to I laid in the tub, I laid in the bed, and I did go in the shower and just stand in there and just envision,
Oh my God.
We know.
But
We can fill in the blanks.
it's so
Oh my
funny.
God, Tiffany.
But
I love
he
it.
actually, why I like Gerard Butler though is because he reminds me so much of my husband. So I tell my husband that I'm like, it's because of you, babe, that I like Gerard Butler.
It's really
Yeah,
a compliment, truly, for him.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Last two questions. So, all of our Not Nice Clever listeners and community know that Candace has an obsession with being
I'm
at the
just at the
airport.
airport all the time. I can't
So-
help it. Yeah.
All the time. All the time. So, our question to you is arrival time. Do you get there 2 hours ahead or 2 minutes ahead and just like dash to the gate? What's your
I'm
vibe?
the worst. Always panicking. Always making up a story to get in the front of the line.
Oh my
I am the worst.
Thank you, woman after my own heart.
I am the worst
best.
with
Okay.
managing my
No.
time. Or the best, whatever. But yeah, like managing my time, I'm like, always, I'm going to have enough time, no problem. And then I get there, I'm like, why do I do this to myself every time? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's Candace. I'm the 2 hours ahead. My hubby, he is the like, let's just go straight from security to the gate. And I'm like, no. So anyway, it's so fun.
I love
Everybody's one or the other.
Yes.
Okay. Last question. Our Not Nice Clever listeners also know my obsession with Marvel and all things comic books and superheroes. So Tiffany, if you were to have a superpower, what would it be?
Mind reading.
Ooh, me too. Yeah,
Definitely.
that's good.
Ooh.
I want to know because people
knows
don't
me.
say what they mean, okay? Nobody says what they freaking mean. So it's like, or what's in their head. Like, no, tell me the truth. Like, tell me your real opinion or what are you really thinking? And, people they don't speak up in life. Like, they just don't. They're afraid of what people might think. They're afraid of what might happen if they say what they really think or feel. And I would want to know what people are really thinking versus what they say.
Thanks for joining us on Not Nice, Clever.
Remember to follow Not Nice Clever wherever you listen to audio.
And if you haven't already, drop that 5-star review.
Share your takeaways. Tell us your story. We love to hear it.
Signing off, your not so nice, but oh so clever besties that mean business.
See you soon.